Hey, what's going on YouTube? So I got some exciting news here, and I'll bring it up in just a second, but I'm not usually the kind of guy who spends money on fancy parts. I usually buy used ones, or just working parts, kind of stock, but something happened the other day, and basically what happened was my chain guide got smashed off and it ran underneath the chain and it threw the chain off, and then it sucked the chain guide up into and up under here. So had to do some kind of trail repair to get it back. TM Designs chain guide, and so I'll throw this bad boy on there and we'll talk about how it went, I guess. I can tell already that it's about the same weight. The stock one was actually very light as well, but also very thin aluminum. And yeah, so to get it on, I'm gonna have to unhook the master clip on the chain, which shouldn't be too bad, and then we'll roll this into there. You may be wondering why my rim is half blue, half not. I wanted to try something other than just painting my rims, because that always wears off pretty fast. So I got these graphics to make my rims blue, but I installed some of them too close to the edge of the rim, and so when the tire flexed, it pushed the decals off. It let some water get under there and it worked its way off. I tend to work out of a pretty small toolbox. I have a nice big box back there, but this is the toolbox that I keep in my truck. Yeah, I know it's organized, right? But what I try to do is use that little box that I keep in my truck, because I like to see if I have all the right tools to work on my bike. So if I'm working out of that box, I just take it with me when I hit the trail, leave it in the truck. So I have a bit of a problem, and it's because this is a bit of a Franken bike. This is not the rim originally intended for this bike, and thus the sprocket is a little bit tighter spec to the swing arm than it normally would be. So you can see there's a little bit of rubbing right there on the plastic. Okay, so I have some material removed from in there so my sprocket would clear. First couple thoughts as I worked on this, I didn't know before I came in that it was going to be basically composite. and I was a little worried about that, but it's reinforced with these metal, I'm not sure what you call them, gussets or something. And as I went to remove some of that material where the sprocket was scraping slightly, it was a lot harder than I thought. I started in with the Dremel, and I actually have a plastic cutting blade on there, and that did not work at all. I ended up using a grinder with a metal cutting blade. That's how strong that plastic is. So I'm hopeful that it'll hold up. Second thing I've noticed is these guys claim that the where the chain rubs down here, this replaceable piece, is like a special compound, and that it'll glide a lot better than the stock ones, and better than anybody else's, in fact. And I kind of, at first I thought it was a bunch of hogwash, but I kind of believe them, because it's a lot harder material than I'm used to seeing in there. Usually it's aluminum, very, very thin aluminum, and the glide block is like a rubber. This is nothing like a rubber. In fact, if I tap on it, you can hear it's kind of similar to the rest of the body. So I am hopeful that the rolling resistance is improved. So I'm going to go ahead and throw that back on there. And there it is. I'll do a quick roll check. It's not rubbing at all. And I think we're good to go ahead and put the chain back on. But before I do that, I'm going to give my chain a nice little oil bath, because I use a standard chain. Okay, so here's my oiled up chain, and what I actually did is I stuck it in a disposable plate, filled it full of just normal oil, and then I blasted it with a heat gun for a bit to really let the oil soak into it. And it's a pretty new chain. I always go with a standard chain, and the reason is I've had a lot of very nice O-ring and X-ring chains, and what I've noticed is the rolling resistance on a standard chain, if you just take a standard chain, you go like that, it flops all around. Very little rolling resistance. They say the O-ring chains, once they're warmed up, they don't do that, but A, I don't believe it, because my bikes feel lighter than they are with very little rolling resistance, because they keep the chain nice and lubed. And B, I don't ride this thing every day, so if I rode it every day, I'd go with an O-ring chain. And my Dual Sport, bing, hey Dual Sport, has an O-ring chain. But this bike gets ridden about once a week, spends most of its time in the garage, and it gets oiled and cleaned all the time. So it just makes sense for me to have a standard chain. I'm gonna go ahead and put the chain back on. Okay, there we are. The chain guide is on. I think it looks nice. Kind of matches the Sunstar logo. And we're going to do a rolling resistance check. What we're really looking for is that rim just spins on its own. The chain is a little loose. It's hopping, and it's about 3 fingers. I'd like to have it be about 2.5. So I'm going to tighten the chain up a bit, but I'm going to call this one a success. I think it looks really nice. And the rolling resistance does seem to be lower. I will say it is a little louder as it comes up. It's not, I guess it's actually just a hair louder as it runs along there, but overall, I think that it works pretty well. And the reason I went with this particular chain guide, with the TM Design one, is it specifically is designed to be able to accept an oversized sprocket, which I clearly have an oversized sprocket, and the stock guide did not. The stock guide was pretty much straight right there, and the sprocket and chain was actually rubbing on the material, whereas this one stops about there. Sprocket can go up inside of it. So overall, so far, seems like a really good product, and as you can tell, it's rolling nice. So Thanks for watching.